Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, John and Lee proudly present the greatest wrestling show ever!
Hey guys, welcome to episode 4 of series 2 of the greatest wrestling show ever, or as hopefully you know now, it's the greatest wrestling tournament ever. So again, a little bit tenuous, but we're back to a singles one-on-one match today. I nearly got the wrong match completely. I thought we were doing Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam 2016, but Lee has informed me that it's actually Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton from SummerSlam 2014, which frankly, did I get that right? I did, didn't I? Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, yeah. I'm looking forward to a bit more, actually. I don't think I've seen this match, or at least I have no recollection of it whatsoever. So we'll get straight into the action. We're SummerSlam 2014 on the WWE Network, 1 hour, 57 minutes and 17 seconds in. Pressing play in 3, 2, 1, go. Right. Lee, you may have seen this already. I've just brought up the Wikipedia page for SummerSlam 2014. Did you know this was the first WWE pay-per-view to use the new WWE logo?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, neither did I. I can't particularly remember what's the difference, really. It's the quite angular one, isn't it? What was it before? Was it still the scratch one, maybe?
Crikey.
Remember? Do you know when they changed the name from, obviously, last time you watched it on a regular basis until recently, it was WWF. Do you know what happened with it changing to WWE?
I know why they changed it.
The Panda people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What surprised me with that was how long it took them to kind of get onto that.
Yeah.
It was always kind of a running joke, wasn't it?
It was I think
one of the T-shirts a lot of people used to wear was the panda with the steel chair.
Steel chair, yeah. Supposedly there was a particular incident where the WWF, as in World Wildlife Fund people, went somewhere, I don't know where it was, they all got off the plane and everyone who was there to receive them was disappointed because they thought they were getting wrestlers. I think they managed to coexist up to a point and then actually realised this is a bit of a pain in the arse. I think as well, I never knew that WWF, the Panda people, I don't think it's as big in America as it is over here. So right. I don't think it was as much of an issue until they started to get progressively bigger and bigger over here. And I think same with a lot of things, you try and sort these things out. I think that the two WWFs had come to some sort of agreement, which wrestling WWF had pretty much then completely ignored.
Right.
But it took them actually taking them to court before anything changed.
I suppose the other scenario would have been like Warrior and Hogan and Savage turning up somewhere in Africa to hunt rhino poachers.
Is that what they do? The WWF people hunt poachers?
No, I'm saying that'd be the alternative to the WWF turning up.
Well, that might work better, to be honest. If I was a poacher, I probably wouldn't be stopped by WWF's kind of like grassroots approach and political pressure and all that. If Hogan turned up with a chair and said he'd do me in if I didn't stop shooting the rhinos, I might stop.
Well, you'd be there, wouldn't you? You'd be lining up your shot.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Hogan's music would kick in. Don't know where from. His music kicks in. And
I'm a real American. Does he tear the shirt off first, or does he get straight to action?
He'd probably knock him off the rifle, and then tear the shirt, and then go to town.
Well, I think realistically what would happen, because what always happens with Hogan, is the poacher would throw his rifle down, he'd go to punch Hogan, Hogan would block. Punch, block, punch, block, punch, block. He'd then point at him, he'd back him up into, I don't know, a tree, send him off another tree, big boot, leg drop, and then he'd spend the next 10 minutes cupping his ear and working the pandas and the rhinos and the elephants.
That's brilliant.
They'd be going mental, wouldn't they? Imagine a little rhino clapping him. Anyway, right, so they changed the name, and what they did for a while, it was called WWFE, World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, and then they changed it purely to WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, and they had a campaign at the time called Get the F Out, so it was very much pitched as though they wanted to get rid of the F, like we're about entertainment, so we decided to rebrand the company in this way. There was no mention of the fact that the Panda people had, won. And Vince hates losing at the best of the times. I can't imagine he was very happy about having lost that one.
No.
I mean, out of all the things that could be made to do, renaming your company is quite a kick in the teeth. And for someone who doesn't like anyone making him do anything, it's probably smarter, I'd have thought.
Roman Reigns' hair always looked really gunky, didn't it, in this phase?
Did a little bit, yeah. Yeah. So this is Roman Reigns shortly after the split of the Shield. So again, I don't know if you know because you weren't watching at the time, but Seth Rollins turned on Ambrose and Reigns a few months before this, maybe May, I think it would have been, siding with Triple H and Co. I think on this same show there is a Dean Ambrose Seth Rollins match. That's part of their ongoing feud from Seth Rollins turning on them both. And obviously, Roman Reigns is taking on Randy Orton, and they're starting. I'd say this is maybe the start of his singles push with Ernest. Would you say?
Yeah. So was there a particular backstory between these two?
Yeah, so you just saw on the VT, to give it its technical term beforehand, Orton giving him an RKO on Raw. So just rewinding here, on the 21st July edition of Raw, Roman Reigns defeated Kane and Randy Orton in a handicap match and attacked Orton during Triple H's announcement on who would face John Cena at SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight Championship. On the 28th edition of Raw, Orton attacked Reigns before his scheduled match against Kane, which is what I think we just saw. On the 1st edition of SmackDown, Orton challenged Reigns to a match at SummerSlam. On August 4th, it was announced on WWE.com that they would face off. So I think it's one of those really where there's no real, like it's one of them attacked the other one.
Yeah.
Maybe cost them a match. The world title match on this show actually is John Cena defending against Brock Lesnar, in which, if I remember correctly, was the first of what became known as like the Suplex City type matches. Lesnar just absolutely dominated him, battered him for several minutes, and pinned him for the world title.
Wow.
Cena had only won the title the month before at Money in the Bank 2014 after Daniel Bryan had to vacate it. So Daniel Bryan had won it at WrestleMania 30 in the triple threat match with Orton and Batista. Had to vacate it due to cumulative concussions and head injury problems. And they put it on the line in the Money in the Bank match. And Cena won it, I think, with a view just to passing it on to Lesnar.
Yeah, Lesnar was on quite a good deal, wasn't he, for a while?
He was, yeah. I mean, he's been well paid all throughout this. Obviously, this first run he was well paid, but this second run, which is now what 9 years, he's been back in the company on and off for.
Yeah, no commitment needed for. Well, there's very limited number of appearances required.
Yeah, limited number of dates, a lot of paper thing, which I think up until around this time, perhaps they didn't necessarily know if they were getting the money's worth for him. I think like 2012, 13, he was winning some, he was losing some. He then beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, breaking the streak, squashed Cena at SummerSlam for the world title. I think from then onwards was considered that level above that perhaps he's been considered as since.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen him since WrestleMania last year.
It'd be a waste. I mean, if they've got a certain number of dates they can use him for, then using him in an empty arena is a bit of a waste.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And I shouldn't imagine he's got much interest in doing it as well. I think he's earned enough money. He likes spending time with his family. I think it has to be the right business decision for him.
So, what do you reckon Roman Reigns' rating out of 10 is per cage match?
Oh, okay. It's going to be pretty high. 8.7.
I thought it'd be higher. 6.67.
Oh, okay. I suppose there will be a number of people who don't like him, particularly, during that long period where they were continuing to try to push him as the main event face with mixed reactions from the crowd.
Yeah. And how many matches do you think he's had per cage match?
So let's say 10-ish years on a full-time schedule, 2,000 on there.
Do you want to factor in the cage match underestimate?
Well, I was thinking for cage matches, generally speaking, I think the last 10, 20 years, particularly in WWE, they would have the vast majority of the matches. So I was kind of assuming they would have that. Okay, let's say 1,500.
1,213.
I can't imagine that's right. 10 years, 120 days a year, he'll have done more than that, I'm sure.
Win rate of 74.1%.
That's pretty good, isn't it? I do feel sorry for Roman Reigns. Obviously, he's turned heel now and he's getting a universally, not positive, but a good desired reaction. He spent years and years turning up, busting his ass, doing his best, and just it not happening necessarily with a fair proportion of the audience.
Yeah, I don't know if it's working for me. We've got a running joke at home at the moment, but on the days where I sit at the where I literally sit at the head of our table. We kind of rotate. But I'll sit down and I'll say to Harry and the others, acknowledge me. Acknowledge me.
And do they?
No.
No, they don't step in line or whatever.
Acknowledge me as their tribal chief.
Do you
And
like
then I'll go
spear
a
them
big
into the fridge
montage
then?
about putting food on the table, and
I presume you spear them into the fridge to show them.
that's coming, I think. Yeah.
There's only so many times you can take that lack of respect, isn't there?
Yeah. I've thrown a few Superman punches out there, but yeah.
Well, I mean, didn't like Roman had to proper batter Jimmy or Jay, whichever one it was, in the Hell in the Cell, didn't he? Like he had to. I mean, maybe if you just get Harry's head wedged against the door, put a steel step, and give him that running drop kick into it, maybe that will finally.
Well, if we're going to do it properly, I'll probably batter Harry to a pulp in the kitchen up until the point where Fred feels that he needs to come in and acknowledge me on his behalf.
I like it. Do you think Fred would?
No, probably not.
Like, go on, Dad. Get him. Get stuck in, Dad. Here's a chair. I know my two boys would be much the same.
So, top 5 opponents for Roman?
Right. Seth.
Number 4.
Orton.
No.
He's had some big matches against the likes of Lesnar, but I can't imagine they've had many matches outside of those really big matches. I don't think he'd be anywhere near that. Bray Wyatt.
Number 1.
Okay. Strowman.
Number 5.
Who else has he wrestled a lot in the last few years? So he's mainly been a face. You're looking at a heel of the last few years. Someone else from the Wyatt family? Luke Harper, something like that?
No.
Go on, pass.
Sheamus, number 2.
Okay, yeah.
And Kane, number 3.
Right, okay, yeah, fair enough. Sheamus famously beat Reigns to end his first world title at Reign after, I think it was something like 5 minutes and 15 seconds.
Crikey.
So he won these first world titles. The following Royal Rumble 2015, Reigns wins, then gets the title shot against Lesnar at WrestleMania 31. I find it really hard since they've stopped numbering WrestleManias to figure out which is which.
Yeah.
You almost have to figure out around kind of what you know what's happening. I remember 2014 was WrestleMania 30. So you're like, okay, it's the following year, or it's 5 years later. And
Yeah.
But Reigns was up against Lesnar, as they did with Yokozuna 22 years earlier. The entire family flew in to see their boy get crowned as world champion. And then in Yoko's case, he wins the title from Brett and loses it 2.5 minutes later to Hogan. And in Reigns' case, despite being apparently the heir apparent, he loses to Lesnar. Clean, if I remember correctly, in the main event.
Wow.
It's like, I couldn't believe it. Everyone just assumed he was, yeah.
Well, was it a similar situation? You mean it was on the same night?
Sorry, he didn't lose to Lesnar. Ignore me, sorry. It was when Seth did the cash-in. That was it.
Right.
Seth did the cash-in, making it a triple threat, and then pinned Roman to win the title from Lesnar. So his family had been flown in, or they'd flown themselves in to watch Roman Reigns win the world title. Again, one of their boys reached that level, and it didn't happen. Deja vu for them.
Crikey.
But later that year, Seth has to vacate the title. Knee injury suffered in a match against Kane accidentally. And then they have a tournament where the final is at Survivor Series 2015. And it's Reigns against Ambrose, if I remember correctly. Reigns wins, winning his first world title. But then Sheamus, who's not King of the Ring, Money in the Bank winner at that point, cashes in, meaning his first world title was, I think it was something like 5 minutes, 15 seconds. So actually, that's another thing he's got in common with his cousin Yokozuna. Their first world title reign was a few minutes long.
Yeah.
Are they cousins?
Awful,
family tree is confusing, isn't it? Because they feel like they're a different generation, but I think they're the same generation, aren't they?
Yokozuna and Roman Reigns?
Yeah, because I think Reigns is a generation above the Usos.
Yes.
Technically, even though they're a similar age.
Yeah.
Reigns' dad is one of the Wild Samoans, and they're Yokozuna's uncle. I think one of their siblings, I don't know if it's brother or sister, I think it's one of the Wild Samoans' brother's son was Yokozuna. So Yokozuna and Roman Reigns would be first cousins, but a significantly different age.
We could make a whole series just out of that family.
Yeah, it's always confusing when you have people like kind of where the generations almost don't work out. I remember being at school and a girl in my form, her auntie was in the year below, and I was like, "Well, how does that work?" That's my auntie's like 50. I don't understand. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, my mum was at school, I was in the same class with her nephew.
Right, okay.
Because my mum's sister was 20 odd years older than her.
Yeah, it's like Eddie and Chavo Guerrero are uncle and nephew, but only 3 years apart.
Yeah.
Madness.
Right, do you want to have a go at some Randy Orton stats?
Oh, yeah, go on then. I love a Randy Orton stat.
Cage matches rating out of 10?
Now, I don't think it'll be mega high because I don't think most people who submit scores on there will be massive Randy Orton fans. So, 6.5-ish.
8.01.
Okay, fair enough.
Number of matches?
That's got to be a lot. It's 20 years. He's not had much time off in those 20 years, and they've got to be mostly recorded on there. 4,000?
2,323. With a 52% win rate.
It's a funny one, Orton is, because like in terms of his overall career on paper, he's had arguably one of the best careers ever. He's a 14-time world champion now, so he's joint third. You've got Flair and Cena on 16, him and Triple H on 14. He's been a main eventer now for approaching 20 years. So he came in 2002 onto WWE. By 2004, he was main eventer. He's not had much time off in that time, very little compared to a lot of people. So by the time he's done, he'll have had 20 straight years as a genuine main eventer, possibly end up being the most decorated world champion ever. But for some reason, he just doesn't quite feel on that same level as Flair or Cena.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know what it is with him.
Yeah.
I think he fought last night, didn't he, in the Elimination Chamber?
Spoiler.
I've not watched it.
Yeah.
I think he was in the 5-way with Drew and Sheamus and my mate, Thingy.
Who's your mate?
Say again.
Who's your mate?
Hardy, Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy's your mate?
I'm obsessed with him, aren't I?
Are you? I don't recall this. What, you think he's good or something? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm referring back to season 1 where we had the running joke of me always trying to get him involved.
That was Matt Hardy.
Matt Hardy, sorry, yeah. I did say Jeff or Matt.
Jeff's his brother.
Yeah.
You know when you have brothers, you know they're different people? Do you know Harry and Fred are two separate people? You understand this, don't you? And you and your brother Mark, you're not...
Yeah, I've never really got my head around the concept. Although my mum did used to call me Sean Mark Lee, so maybe that's where the problem started.
I thought you were going to say she called you Shawn Michaels for a minute. That would have been better. Well, my dad used to go, my sister's Katie, or Catherine when she was being naughty, so he'd go, John, like that.
Yeah, standard. I do it now to my kids.
I did a few years ago. I haven't so much recently, which I don't know if that means that I'm telling them off less. I'm not quite sure.
Possibly.
Yeah. Orton with the draping DDT. Vintage Orton as Michael Cole's announcing.
You want to guess his top 5 opponents?
Orton's?
Yeah.
Cena, got to be up there.
Number 1.
Yeah. Triple H?
Number 2.
Kane?
No.
Okay. So someone who's been around a fair while. Orton. So I can think of some of his famous matches, but there were people that he's only faced a handful of times, probably. Maybe someone like a Bray Wyatt?
There's no RKO there. No.
Pass.
Sheamus, number 3.
Okay. All right.
Batista, number 4.
All right, okay.
And Shawn Michaels, number 5.
I can't think of any particular Orton Michaels matches. I mean, I'm sure there's a number of tag matches, and I think of a Survivor Series, 1 or 2. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm not disputing it.
I thought he'd won then.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
And I've got 4 nicknames written down here for Randy.
The Viper, the Apex Predator.
Of course.
And
the 2 I would have got.
You wouldn't have got.
They're the 2 I would have got.
You would have got. So I'm guessing they're not
I've
nicknames?
heard one of the other ones, and one of them I've not heard before.
So at least one must be a nickname that's not used anymore. Maybe something that came in. Oh, Legend Killer.
Yes, that's the one I'd heard, but I wouldn't have got.
And then the other one will be something he perhaps used when he first came in 2002, 3. So to start with, he was kind of a generic third generation smiling baby face. Did he have a nickname? No, pass.
One Man Dynasty.
Okay, right. I don't remember that, but I'm assuming that was. Well, it could have been in OVW or something like that before he got called up to the main roster.
That makes sense.
Orton, of course, being part of that legendary class of 2002 from OVW. So him, Batista, Cena, and Lesnar, and then to a lesser extent, Shelton Benjamin all called up that same year. Oh, big spear from Orton there. Oh, not Orton. Reigns has won.
That's it.
Clean victory. That was a good match, that. Again, I don't think we spoke about it in the slightest, but yeah, good match. That's continuing his build to main event status. Whilst I do like Reigns, I'm glad now that he's got a different outfit, because when he just wore his Shield outfit and had slightly different music to his Shield music, it never really felt like he was fully taking that next step.
Yeah.
And it seemed random as well, like the outfit fitted in with being in the Shield, but it didn't really fit in with just being Roman Reigns. And he's got a great physique, there's no need to hide it. He, why does he wrestle in trousers and a combat vest?
Yeah, especially he's gone a lot big. He's gone really big recently.
Yeah. I think it's one of these where lockdown and a few months off suited him, shall we say?
And maybe even knowing that you're going to be starting to wrestle bare-chested.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe he just inherited Big Boss Man's old outfit for his second run or third run, whatever it was. The 99-2000 run, not the original.
He had leukemia, didn't he? Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns, yeah, he did. He was out for however many months and came back, won the title back, but then left early. Did he win the title back, or was he about to win it? He was about to face Goldberg at WrestleMania last year, wasn't he? But with his compromised immune system and COVID and all that, he just said no and went home, meaning that Braun Strowman stepped into the breach and picked up his Universal title win. That was particularly bad timing, that, because they've got Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, as world champion on a roll, as Universal champion anyway. And they had Goldberg beat him in Saudi Arabia last February, which, I don't know, not ideal, but build into Goldberg versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Yeah, okay, fine. But then when that doesn't happen, you've just had Bray Wyatt lose the title for no real reason.
Yeah.
For a month-long title reign from Goldberg to then drop it to Strowman. Right, let's have a quick look to see what have we got left. So Reigns has just won that, hasn't he? Yeah, okay. Who have we got here? We've got left Lesnar and Angle. If we could have Lesnar Angle, you've got, if we want to go long, we've got that Iron Man match from SmackDown in 2003. We've got the main event of WrestleMania 19. Those two. That's the one where Lesnar goes to the shooting star press off the top and slips and lands on his face.
Oh, let's do that.
Yeah. I don't think. Let me think. Who else, in theory, could you put them against? Maybe Sting is one to consider as well. Who's Sting going to go against? Oh, you got Sting versus Goldberg and Nash and Hall. Yeah, Lesnar Angle. So we're saying WrestleMania 19, not the Iron Man match, yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
The Angle.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next week for Lesnar Angle from WrestleMania 19.
Yes.